Hi, Jared. Thank you so much for the beautiful finale. Were any lines added or ad-libbed by you two? Yes. Yeah. A lot of me. So, Andrew Dabb and Bob Singer are phenomenal and did a great job trying to do the impossible. And I think they did it. And there were some scenes, there were some things that occurred to me that I really wanted to touch on. One of the things, a little like Easter egg that we had in the barn scene was at first when Dean says to Sam, to keep on going, and it was written, Sam says, I can't do this without you. And it occurred to me that I thought it'd be neat to kind of have a throwback to the pilot and say, I can't do this alone. Like Dean said to Sam outside the Impala in the pilot. And then for Dean to say, yes, you can, like Sam said to Dean in the pilot. And then for Sam to say, well, I don't want to. And
I can't do this alone.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to.
I can't do this alone. Yes, you can. Well, I don't want to.
That harkened back for me to the way we all started. Another thing that I really thought was important was that the first things we ever saw Sam and Dean say to each other on camera, obviously they had grown up together, but the first thing Dean ever said to Sam was, "Hey, Sammy," and the first thing Sam ever said to Dean was, "Dean," because at the time they were in a fight and in a dark apartment, and so I thought it'd be really neat if the first words Sam and Dean ever said to each other on screen were also the last words. So when we're on that bridge and Dean says, "Hey, Sammy," and then it cuts to Sam and I'm dressed like as best I could, like the pilot with Dean,
Oh, easy, Tiger.
Dean? Hey, Sammy. Dean?
And then a few things there in the barn scene. We talked with Andrew Dabb and Bob Singer a lot, and we just said like, hey, are y'all okay if we kind of see what makes sense, what we're feeling, repeating lines here or there, or just kind of going with the flow. And at that point in time when we shot that scene, Jensen and I knew Sam and Dean in a way that no one else could. We had lived with these guys for 15 and a half years, and so we felt really strongly that, and we did the script as it was the script, but we would do little bits where we would try and do something that was like meaningful to us or helped convey a message that we were trying to convey. Also, it was really important to me that the last words Sam says to Dean, I'm getting emotional. When Sam says, "It's okay, you can go now," I thought that Sam's son, Dean, needed to say those exact same words to Sam. And that was Sam's cue to go like, all right, it's time.
It's okay. You can go now.
Dad. It's okay. You can go now.
So, yeah, there were a few things that were really important to me. And those were a few of them, but there were probably more, but for now. Hi, Jared. I was wondering if you could talk about the Easter eggs you and Jensen put in the finale, like Sam wearing Dean's watch when he died. Oh, you saw that? Yeah, yeah. So I just talked about a few with the lines with you know, kind of giving an homage back to the pilot with "I can't do this alone." Yes, you can. Well, I don't want to. And ending with "Hey, Sammy and Dean." But yeah, you saw the. So Jensen and I are both big Watch fans, and we thought it would be something that Sam would have kept and worn, Dean's watch. And I'm glad you saw that. I didn't know any. Well, whatever. I mean, you know, it was right for Sam. Sam would have changed his watch to Dean's watch. And so it's neat that you saw it. Good eye, Lauren and Nicole. Good. I'm glad that conveyed. Hello, Jared. I want to know if the pie scene where you put someone Dean's face was scripted or not. Love from France. Love back to you in France. It was scripted, and I got to do it a few times, which is pretty cool. And then I don't know if any of you saw this, but when they cut to Sam and he throws the pie in Dean's face, and then there's a passerby at the pie festival in the background who kind of looks and is shocked. That is the one and only legend Bob Singer. So that was a little bit of like a Alfred Hitchcock from Bob. So we had a lot of little Easter eggs in the finale for you guys, and that was one of them. I'm sure some of y'all noticed, but the passerby in the background who kind of goes like, oh, that dude just pot another dude. It was the director and longtime executive producer, Bob Singer. So that was scripted, but it didn't make it any less fun.
I've wanted to do that for a very long time.
Hi, Jared. Sending love from Korea. Okay. How did you feel about Sam's ending? Sam Licker 81. Hi, back to Korea. Wow. You know, I've had almost a year and a half to think about Sam's ending. So I know a lot of y'all found out about it 3 days ago. I found out about it June of 2019, you know, and so I've had a lot of time to think about it. And at first it was probably a little jarring, you know, a little abrupt, a little I mean, I guess how would you feel about anybody's ending? And I don't want to answer a question with a question, but you know, let's say hypothetically you were told how you would pass. Would you ever be okay with it? You know, you'd be like, well, either you die happy in your sleep. You're like, well, I want to go out in a blaze of glory. Or they're like, you go out in a blaze of glory. And you're like, oh man, I thought I'd be peaceful. And so there was a finality to it that no matter how Sam had his ending, it would have been difficult to kind of wrap my head around. Once I did digest it and spend, you know, hours and days and weeks and months and over a year with it, I truly feel that it was the best way to tell Sam's story. And Sam tried to live his life the way Dean would have wanted him to live his life. You know, in honor of Dean and his request and his sacrifices, you know, Sam tried to do as best he could what Dean would have wanted. You know, if Dean would have come back to life 20 years later and Sam was still hunting, I think Dean would have been pissed off. Been like, man, I told you, like, go live your life. Like, we didn't fight all the, you know, lay your weary head to rest, you know? And so I really am passionate about Sam's ending being proper. And that's what Dean would have wanted. And that's what Dean fought for. That's what Mary fought for. That's what John fought for. That's what Bobby and, you know, Sheriff Jody and Donna, and that's what everybody, Castiel, Jack, that's what they all fought for, was the idea that whoever was left could live as, you know, normal a life as possible. So I'm very happy with Sam's ending, as happy as you can be. Can you talk a bit about the pre and post COVID scripts and the changes made? Yeah. I guess I'm allowed to do this now. Well, no one's told me not to. They can't fire me anymore because the show's already over. Can you talk about the pre and post COVID scripts and the changes made? So the biggest deal with the post COVID scripts is that when COVID happened and when we got back to Canada, there was a mandatory 2-week quarantine. And so we had to, and as a matter of fact, the last virtual convention we did, we were both mid quarantine and we were sitting in our apartments in Canada. And I think we had like a week left until we were going to film the final 2 episodes of Supernatural. But because of that, there were going to be a lot of beloved characters that were in heaven with us. But that was just, it was just a scene or two. And so when you think about a lot of the other cast that's been a part of the show forever and ever, they have kids and spouses and jobs and mortgages of their own. So you couldn't really ask, Rob and Richard and Samantha Smith and Jeffrey Dean to come sit in a hotel room for 2 weeks just to be in one scene. And so that was the biggest change that I know of. I don't imagine I'll get in trouble for that. Whatever, it's too late anyways. I already said it. So, neener. But yeah, those are the biggest changes, is that the heaven that Dean deserved was filled with a lot of people from Dean's past. As it worked out, it kind of worked out like a happy accident because the show, again, talking about storytelling in general, the show started out Sam and Dean. That was the show. That was the pilot. That was the first couple of seasons. And it was always about Sam and Dean. And Dean said it himself in the barn, when it comes down to it, it's always been you and me, meaning Sam and Dean. And for it to end like that full circle was pretty magical storytelling. So maybe it ended up the way it should be. And maybe we get all of us together for the reboot. Hello, Jared. How did you prepare to shoot Dean's death? It must have been very hard and emotional. You were brilliant. Love from France. Merci. I'm sure there's a better way to say it. It's not Oxan. I'm sure it's Auchan. Auchan. That wasn't me farting, by the way. This was my chair. How did you prepare to shoot Dean's death? How could you possibly prepare to shoot Dean's death? We shot that scene in September, and I had been reading it. I had known about that since, June or July of 2019, and I've been reading that scene since February, because we were supposed to shoot in March, April. And so I had a lot of time to kind of deal with it. And a lot of what that scene was, even just watching it, that wasn't acting, like I knew the lines left, right, and center. I could have done them in my sleep. I might have. I asked Genevieve. I may have been saying them in my sleep. I knew all the dialogue. I knew the blocking. I knew where we were. But it was just most of the time on set was spent like trying not to cry, and the way so that barn scene, it was a huge fight scene. And I know it only lasted 30 seconds on camera, but it was a massive, massive fight scene. We actually shot in that barn for 3 days. We shot out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like the first week of September, whatever that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was. And Bob, Bob's done this for a long, long time, and he was intelligent enough to go like, hey, we're going to shoot all the walking into the barn stuff, all of the fight stuff, and then we're going to dedicate 1 day to once Dean has been impaled. Because if you try and go and do a fight scene for 6 hours and then get into the super emotional stuff, like, good luck. Like you're going to be, you're going to feel like you're actually dying. And so he let us do it on that Friday, the Friday before we wrapped. It was really difficult to prepare. I just try to read it over and over again. And I think, and this sounds really weird, but I tried to read it so much that I got bored. Like I wanted to get bored with it. And that sounds really strange, but it was so emotional to me. Every time I read the scene, I cried. Literally every time I read the scene, I'd be on my treadmill and my kids would come in and be like, Dad, breakfast is ready. I'd be like, and so that was Jared crying, and I didn't want Jared's emotions to get in the way of Sam's journey and of Supernatural's story. And so I tried to just go through it over and over and over again. And it was a difficult scene. It's still difficult to watch. And I've watched, like, this morning, I woke up early because I couldn't sleep. And I was watching a few like reaction videos, and just hearing the scene in the background of the reaction video, I was sort of dusting away tears. Okay, thank you. Chiara Avancini. Hi, did Sam tell his son about all the hunting stuff? Is that why he got the Winchester's tattoo? Or did Sam tell him to get it tattooed? That's a great question. Yeah, Sam told his son. Yeah. Of course he did. He told him about his Uncle Dean. He told him why he was named what he was named. And he also told him the importance of taking care of himself, and not spending his life saying goodbye to friends and family. And then his son just wanted to get it tattooed. So that's a great question. Who are the first people Sam would want to see in heaven? Obviously Dean. Bobby. Mom. Sully. Yeah, I think Sam's heaven is mostly Dean, and that was another reason why we when I read the script, I asked our wardrobe department to get me the outfit from the pilot, because for me, I thought that Sam's heaven would have been. I think that Sam's happiest moment, in some weird way, shape, or form, was when he made that commitment to get back on the road with his brother. He had a rough childhood, and then he went off to do his thing and go to school and be a lawyer. And that obviously didn't happen. But I think when Sam got on the road with his brother, as much as he was making fun of his mixtapes or whatever, I think that was Sam's happiest moment. And then, because obviously there was a lot of loss and heartbreak after that. But, the actual wardrobe I wore back in 2005 in the pilot is long gone. So they had to kind of recreate it as best they could. But I think that Sam's heaven is mostly his brother.